Here.
Present.
Present. We're going to have our first public portion. Anyone wishing to speak on any agenda item only, please raise your hand. Mr. Heimbold.
Good evening. I'll give Mr. Campbell a chance to get seated.
Good evening.
Pete Heimbold, Morningstar Court. Couple agenda questions. First one's the ordinance 01803. There's no detailed information attached with that one. And so it wasn't online, maybe on the board. I think there is.
The final draft of that ordinance was just delivered to the clerk's office. That's probably why it did not make.
Okay.
This is for 72 residential units, where 11 of them will be reserved for non-age restricted rental low income and moderate income households. It's part of our obligation, our co-obligation council of affordable housing through the state, and that's our affordable housing constitutional obligation. And that's located on Choose Landing Road across from the Rite Aid. So if you're coming from the Pike, on the left-hand side.
Okay, thank you. Couple bill list questions. First, there's a bill on there from Bach Associates for $7,800 plus, and the account says reserve. Well, it says res. I guess that's reserve. Reserve affordable housing and fees. What do we pay Bach related to affordable housing
Well,
fees?
Mr. Bach is the engineer for the planning board. Is that, do you know, Mr. Carson, is that a planning board bill? Or?
Well, I can't say exact. I do know that Mr. Bach is working closely with this litigation for the affordable housing. He's worked very diligently to put our plan together, and we pretty much have it resolved except for the plan.
Okay.
I don't know if that bill relates specifically to that.
I believe it does. I know Mr. Lackner's here, I don't know if he has a link.
Mr. Lackner?
Bach Associates is the planner of this firm for our affordable housing, housing fair share plan. I believe it's not really for administrative fees that we get from college for us at 20%. I'm not sure exactly, but we were able to use.
Yes.
That does match what it looks like I saw on the bill list, so that sounds right. Thank you. Also on the bill list, we issued 7 checks for a total of $30,000 plus to the Gloucester Township Housing Authority. And it said related to CDBG payment process, Metro Cities. These were payments from Gloucester Township to the Housing Authority. Do we know what those?
Gloucester Township Housing Authority receives community development block grant money through the township that's provided through the federal government. Tom, is that part of their CDBG obligations that we provide to them?
I believe it is. I believe those people might be for rehab, some housing for the money, without, again, pooling those individual vouchers and being able to look at those prior to the meeting. I don't have any first-hand knowledge of it.
Tom, can you pull them and let Mr. Heimbaugh know about that? In the future, Mr. Heimbaugh, when you have specific questions like that, if you can contact Mr.
I would, if I didn't
May I
look at
finish?
it. That's-
Contact Mr. Cardis in the past.
Yes,
We don't carry the bill list with us. We
I
don't
know.
carry the bill list with him. But if you contact him prior to the meeting, you can provide that
Yeah,
information.
and I realize that, and I've done that in the past. I didn't happen to look at this till
Okay.
6:30 or something.
I'll
But
pull
thank you.
those bills and I will contact you by email.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll go to the first public portion. Ordinance of first reading. Ordinance 0-18-03 is ordinance of the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, State of New Jersey, amending ordinance 0-03-03, land development, adopting an inclusionary affordable apartment overlay, 1A-apartment, zoning district for 1495 Choose Landing Road, Block 8401, Lot 12.02. This is, the Township of Gloucester has entered into a settlement agreement with the Fair Share Housing Center for development of affordable housing. This is a project with 72 residential units. that shall be reserved for family rental for low-income and moderate-income households as defined by the Council of Affordable Housing. This meets our constitutional obligation. Now, when we say low and moderate-income housing or affordable housing, when that law was enacted or that act was enacted, affordable housing was set aside for individuals that were teachers, firefighters, police officers, people who are working in retail, clerks. So this meets our obligation with that settlement. There will be a public hearing at the second reading, which will be 2 weeks from today. I entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance.
I'll make that motion.
There's a second.
Second.
Thank you. On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Mr. Minio?
Yes.
Mr. Owen?
Yes.
Mrs. Winter? Yes. Mrs. Estrada? Yes. Mr. Mercado?
Yes, next we have items on our consent agenda. Any council member would like to move any item on the consent agenda, please speak up. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hutchinson. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Owens. On the question, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Mr. Minio?
Yes.
Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Mrs. Winter? Yes. Mrs. Estrada? Yes. Mr. Mercado?
Yes. We did not receive any GTE Gov access emails. Now we'll have our second public portion. Anyone wishing to speak on any item, please raise your hand. Mr. Polidoro.
Good evening, Council. Ray Polidoro from the Historic Village of Ariel. I'll be brief, but I have three quick questions. Resolution 1802-051. In the past, we have asked numerous times when you do the lot and block stuff, if you could simplify it to a physical address. We'd like you to get back into the habit of doing that so we can identify. Lot and block is good if you're in real estate or an architect, but residents may not be able to associate, or it takes a little bit of work.
Well, Mr. Polidoro, we've done that when it's, for instance, this ordinance that we spoke about, or if there's a planning or redevelopment, we've done that. But I don't ever recall you asking for that when it comes to erroneous charges for tax collection.
It was just in brief when using lot and block. Reason, and I'll follow up with this second question. How does that come about? How did the township overbill after sale for tax? How does that come about? And I'm not asking in an accusatory way, I'm simply curious.
Tom, can you shed any light on that?
No, had I known in advance, I would have ran that by the tax collector, because this was generated by the tax collector.
This is, if it's the one I'm reading here, charge after
Yep.
sale, my guess would be that the transaction property went to sale, taxes were paid, and also collected at the closing table and probably sent in by the title company. So they would pay twice, so it was a request for reimbursement. Would be my guess, because it says charged after sale.
Okay. Next quick question. The code requirement for affordable housing. I remember several years ago we had met our code at the time. How does the code requirement exist? Is it an ongoing, year to year? How do they break that up, and when do we ever reach our code requirement, or does it keep on going?
It's a moving target, and I'm going to have Mr. Lechner and also Mr. Lechner, if you'd like to speak on it, and Mr. Carlemare.
Well, I'll bring up to where we're at.
If you can stop the clock, please.
Basically, there's 3 rounds of the code rules were enacted, and the township met at round 1 and round 2 COA obligations by actually providing brick and mortar housing. A lot of towns may have just had a plan to provide housing and never built. Gloucester Township actually provided these homes for the round 1 and round 2. And then I think since 1999, COA, the Council on Affordable Housing, had a requirement to enact new rules. They adopted new rules, came up with a plan, they were appealed in court, changed again. The round 3 rules were, I think, changed at least twice, maybe 3 times, and went to court, and finally the court turned it over to the courts themselves, and I think COA still exists, but as a regulatory agency, they don't anymore, they don't meet. And towns, in order to have their protection from a builder's remedy lawsuit, from a builder just come in and say, you have an obligation and we're going to build down here when we really want them there, we filed summary declaratory judgment in Superior Court that Mr. Cormier and Clark Associates have been developing our housing element fair share plan to show how the township's going to meet our constitutional obligation and not have a builder say you have a requirement. But this one thing is an intervener, if there's someone intervener, this ordinance.
I guess what I'm asking in this moving target, as Mr. Mercado has indicated, I remember back in 2008, and it was construction, we met our requirement back in 2008. If we met our requirement at that particular time, what is that moving target? Do they visit that annually? So we've met our requirement today. Let's say the structure is built.
I believe it's every 10 years, and we didn't need it in 2008, because in 2008, that was the moving target, and they were trying to come up with new rules. They came up with new rules, the rules were litigated. One hand, they were litigated by builders, another time, they were litigated by fair share housing centers. There was always somebody objecting to code rules, so they never got resolved until when the court finally said, we're going to take it.
Is there any end to the requirement? I mean, you keep on doing affordable, then the value of other homes in the township now begin to
This
go down.
this litigation, we filed our declaratory action in 2015, and that was the target date by the Supreme Court. It was turned over to the Superior Courts in respective counties. We filed our declaratory action in 2015. That gave us an immediate builder's remedy protection. No one could file against the township directing, as Mr. Lechner was saying, where they're going to build affordable housing. Once they accepted our declaratory action, we've been working through the courts since then, coming up with our plan. The lead plaintiff, if you will, is Fair Share Housing throughout New Jersey, and they've been pretty aggressive in a lot of the towns that have filed, and working diligently with us. We now have come to a point where they're pretty much prepared to accept our proposal. If our proposal is accepted at our hearing coming up in March, that gives the township's plan protection to 2025, as long as we proceed to meet what we said we're going to do. And part of this ordinance that was just introduced was part of that, because as we were getting ready, probably 3-4 months ago, the particular property owner intervened in the action, and the court allowed them to come up with what they were proposing as part of our plan, and that's how this ordinance came about. It's part of our code plan to meet our obligations through 2025.
Have we ever entered into an agreement with any other town to buy there, or they buy, thank you.
We actually filed, if I remember, Ken, a round 3 proposal. Of course, the township was always proactive with COA requirements from round 1, round 2, round 3. With round 3, since they kept changing their rules, they never adopted Gloucester Township as well as any other town that filed for round 3. Courts, through various litigations, finally the Supreme Court intervened and made its decision.
Okay. I guess this will be a 2-part question, and we'll follow up to that. Some time ago, the township appealed the state's decision on, and I forget the terminology that was used, undervalued homes being considered into comps within a certain development in a certain area. And the township was appealing the state's decision, if I remember how that went.
That's the thing with law, Wavewood law for on the assessments.
And did that go to court, and was there findings in that?
If I remember correctly, there were, I didn't handle that, Mr. Long was handling it. There were 6 properties included that we were appealing. And I think they resolved it by accepting 3 of our arguments, don't hold me to that, and we waived off on the others, and that case is settled. So the township pretty much feels that we were satisfied with how it was presented. We made our point, and I'm just trying to, from some of the conversations I had with Mr. Long's office, but he handled it directly.
Now, does that set a precedent for other areas in the township where undervalued homes would now be considered in comps, which would jeopardize the amount of, well, not jeopardize, but it would reduce the amount of taxes some people would say if they had their home reevaluated or reassessed, and obviously it would be a drop in revenue to the township if homes are reassessed at a much lesser value.
If the tax assessor was here, he'd probably give you a better educated response than I can, but it really deals with properties that would be considered non-usable or appraised values. Because when you go for the County Board of Appeals and appealing it, you're talking about market value. So when you have a sale by a mortgage company or a distressed sale because someone's moved out, these become non-usable. So they were making a determination that some of the ones that our assessor was arguing that were non-usable, they were saying were usable, and that's how that appeal went. So we had about 6 of them. They determined it's either 4 and 2 or 3 and 3. Forget how it was settled. And we met on it. The assessor was okay after we discussed it. We met with Long, all of us, the assessor being present, and we decided to resolve it in the best interest of the town. That case was settled.
Okay. And my third point in question, and again, the great difficulty of the school board meeting on the same night as the township council meeting, and you pop in and make appearance, get what you can, and boogie over here. But it was an educational night for me at the school board meeting. It seems that the school board, which eventually is going to come into the equation of property tax at some point, they're looking to put a new roof on Ann Mullen Middle School at a value of almost $4.8 million. My question to the school board, and I know that this does not involve you with their procedural methods, did it include the price of removing the solar panels again? Now, we've had this discussion, you were going to check for me on our township buildings, and if it could be deemed maintenance because they are an obstruction to the roof, if the solar company, I mean, they made a boatload of money dropping solar panels over the township, maybe they can extend a courtesy. But furthermore, when the discussion was being had on the $20 million plan to put solar panels all over the schools, many of the questions were posed to the township. How old are the roofs? And if they're not brand new, why are you putting solar panels on them? And I'm going to be honest with you, and I don't mean to be sarcastic, that's kind of the answers we got. That was it. So at tonight's meeting, I asked the new roof that they're getting at Ann Mullen Middle School is going to be a 30 or 40-year warranty roof. The roof's only 20 years old. They're going to pay the solar company to remove the panels and then go for another $4.8 million to put a roof on. We asked these questions at that time to prevent this type of situation. God only knows how much that solar company is going to charge the township or charge the school district, which is going to be at our expense in our property taxes again. Part one. Part two is a $4.8 million roof on a 20-year-old roof. Now, they're taking it under advisement, but again, it goes back to the question that Mrs. Carr has asked numerous times about liaisons, and you guys know what the school district's doing because you collect the taxes for the fire, for the schools, for everything. It's still, we know it's not you, but it's still somebody that's taking our money in the way of property taxes. And a 20-year roof, if it has a 30-year warranty, that's 1/3 the lifespan cut off of that. I would like to think that some type of warranty would be valid and maybe prorated on the roof. But these are the things that drive our property taxes up, and these are questions that we asked when the $20 million solar plan went into effect. I'd like to hear anybody's response that would care to address that, because it's going to happen here too. It's going to happen with these buildings. And why new roofs were not put on before solar panels were. Please.
That is, with the school district, did they respond to your question?
They're going to take it under
You made more of a
advisement.
statement than the question.
No, my question was about if you have a 20-year-old
Our
roof.
here, Mr. Cardis, our roofs, they examine our roofs.
Absolutely.
I can't speak for the school district, whether they certified or what examination took place. That's a discussion you have to have with the school board. With our roofs here, they were inspected and verified.
Yes.
If you're putting solar panels on a 10-year-old roof, that's about the maximum of it. 15-year-old roof they did that on, now it's 20-some years old, 20 years old. And again, Mr. Calderman, if you recall, you were looking into that on the Township. Now, in my opinion, I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on TV, but if you were to twist and spin, those solar panels are obstructing the work of roofers. Could that not be deemed an obstruction enough to have the solar company, under the maintenance agreement, have them remove those panels as an obstruction to work that needs to be done? And that's the question that I asked them. It could save us a tremendous amount of money, because these guys aren't cheap. And I never did get a follow-up on that
Well,
for the township
that
buildings.
goes back several months, and I think the following meeting, I don't recall whether you were here, you might have been, but I gave a response, and I would have to check the notes. You asked me to look at the contract, if I recall, as to whether or not the contract defines maintenance, and would this fall under their responsibility for maintenance. If I were to give you a thought now, I would say it does not, but I would want to pull that file out, and see what I heard.
Okay, I mean, just looking into the future, and it's a lot of money, plus a lot of money, and that's a property tax increase coming down the pike. Because you just can't keep borrowing to put roofs on and solar and what have you. And I hope that we're looking at that in the future, because it's going to cost us. It's going to cost us a lot of money. And our kids need to be safe. The roofs need to be safe. Wow, it's a lot of money again. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Tom Woodward. I'm from the aerial section, I live in the Clementona section. And I'd like to speak to you tonight about Article 4.422J as it regards recreational vehicles. It's the zoning law. The zoning officer suggested that I speak to you about amending that law. I own a trailer, and a lot of us in that development do own a trailer. The law allows for us to park our trailer in the rear of the property, but not in the front. However, R4 zoned properties, they're all very, very small lots. I can't fit a trailer in the rear of my property. I can't even access the rear of my property because there's no room on either side of the houses to squeeze one in there. And that covers motorhomes, trailers, and boats. I don't know why this, I think it's just aesthetics because there's no safety hazard that would exist in the front of the yard that wouldn't exist in the rear. I'm getting ahead of myself. The idea was to see if it could be amended to exclude R4 zoned properties, to allow us to store our trailers in the front of the property. I'm on a fixed income, I'm disabled. It's difficult to find a public storage place to put one of these. All the ones that are local have no space available. I have to go all the way to Cherry Hill to store my trailer. It's a long distance for me, and it's a lot of money, when it's simpler for me to just keep it at my home. Something just for the council to look into, the possibility of maybe amending it for the R4 zoned areas, because the zoning officer couldn't tell me why this law existed, and all we could come up with was it's just because it doesn't look nice. But I can't fit a trailer in the rear of my property. I have applied for a variance for myself personally, but I can't speak for anybody else as far as there's like 15 or 20 people that have recreational vehicles that they can't fit into the rear of their property.
I didn't get your last name, I'm sorry.
Woodward,
Woodward.
sorry.
What type of trailer, would you say?
I have a travel trailer.
Travel trailer? Okay. Mr. Mignon, can you do me a favor and grab Mr. Woodward's phone number, and we'll contact you. We'll contact the zoning officer and have a conversation with her, and possibly put it on our workshop agenda in March. A workshop agenda, we sit down there, we have more of a discussion in here.
Right.
Okay, is that fine? Okay.
I guess.
I asked you to give your phone number, so we don't give your phone number. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir. It's anything.
Huh?
Anything. hand, you're next, okay?
Hi, David Haig from Highland Village. Anybody from Public Works here?
Mr. Cardis oversees public works.
Okay. I was going to address another item, but I was talking to Mr. Hutchison and Ms. Winters. They were behind my house, well, Mr. Hutchison was. Highland Village Reserve Basin, once again. Right? It's being maintained properly, cut and all that, but I'm a taxpayer, anticipating a 10 to 15% tax hike this year, but it's another story. I share my property line with the MUA and Gloucester Township. Year and a half ago or so, the kids were back there, they found pharmaceuticals, drugs, right? I called this SCARA Center email, Public Works came out, they were in a medically safe container, I gave them to them, I don't know if they were, what skid they were, no idea, right? Didn't bother to look up, but they were there in the Rite Aid, CVS things. The place, I saw the picture on the Township website today where they cleaned up, got like 8 bags of trash, 10 bags, that's nothing. You would get 20, 30 bags back there, or more. It needs to be cleaned up. Before it wasn't maintained along the run, it's called Farrell's Run. It's actually on the map, it's called Farrell's Run. It wasn't maintained there. Mr. Hutchison was walking campaign. And I stopped him and I took him back there. He saw the mess back there. And he got Kevin, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, from Public Works. And they cut that down, but it's full trash. It hits the streets, goes down the drains, and then it winds up back there. It goes back there and goes to the tunnel under 42. There's actually a tunnel at milepost 8.35. If that ever clogs up, and a couple times it did, and it floods back there. One time it clogged up, I told RVE that don't spend the money to do the street drains. They spent $4 million to put new street drains in. It was dammed up, and that's all it was. I tried to show the engineer that, but she didn't want to hear it. She said, what do I know? I'm a naval engineer. What do I know? I know water, right? So it needs to be cleaned up. I suggested Mr. Hutchison, maybe a community service group can go back there for that, you know, while they're doing their community service or something. But it's full of trash. If you need, I'll send pictures to you.
Mr. Haig, you're in Chestnut Glen, correct?
Highland Village.
Highland Village.
Hey, you look at the pumping station next to me, it says Highland Village. It doesn't say Chestnut Glen. And all the deeds,
Mr.
even
Haig,
if they're on Chestnut Glen,
Mr. Haig,
say Highland
what's your
Village.
address? What's your address?
What's that? 11 Fraser, right next to the pumping station. Like I said, I share the south side of my boundary line is the MUA, and the west side is Township.
Mr. Cardis, can you have a conversation with Public Works to have them go out there to 11 Fraser in Highland Village / Chestnut Glen?
They could go in between the MUA access at 13 Fraser and 15 Fraser. There's an access there. They could go there. Kevin knows where it's at.
Mr. Haig, you're home during the day so they can knock on your door?
Yeah. Like I said, Kevin came out there. I know it's a long name. I don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah. He was out there, and he's always said, you got any interesting pictures back there? Because I have a trail cam on my side of the fence, so it's not on public property. And I caught an 8-pointer there a couple weeks ago. So, but thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Regine.
Good evening, Council and Chief Earl. My name is Regina Relaire. I live in the Clementon section of Gloucester Township. For over 2 years, I have been employed as a school crossing guard in our township through the police department. My crossing guard post is located at St. Teresa's on Evesham Road on the borderline of Gloucester Township and Runnymede. Students from Triton High School also walk or ride their bikes to school and from school, utilizing the crosswalk at St. Teresa's. Tonight, I just want to begin a conversation in order to discuss some traffic safety concerns that I have observed during my service as a school crossing guard, in an attempt to possibly add additional signs to make some drivers more aware of the fact that not only should they slow down when they pass through the school zone, but stop and remain stopped for pedestrians visibly present in the crosswalk. St. Teresa's teaches pre-K to 8th grade students and is located near the very busy Black Horse Pike. The school itself sits on Evesham Road, which is Camden County Road 544, and has a posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour. Currently, there are 2 school zone signs traveling southwest down Evesham, past the Acme, going towards the Black Horse Pike. The only school sign traveling northeast off the Black Horse Pike onto Evesham, past the Sunbank, is the sign at St. Teresa's. The crosswalk itself is plainly marked with 2 standard yellow signs, flashing yellow lights located on both sides of the roadway, and a large painted white lines on the street. The most common problem that the students, their parents, faculty, and eyewitness is distracted and or speeding drivers. In order to help alleviate this ongoing problem, Lieutenant Swack provided Gloucester Township Department traffic cones to make the crosswalk more visible to motorists. Consequently, there has been some improvement on the excessive speed issue. However, routinely, many drivers do not stop and stay stopped for pedestrians crossing the roadway within the marked crosswalk, which has been in New Jersey state law since 2010. I believe that one option might be additional signs in the school zone vicinity. I recently saw a sign in the Sicklerville section of Gloucester Township on Shoes Landing Road, right by the ShopRite and Fulton Bank. The sign reads, "Stop here for," and it shows a person and an arrow pointing down to the road. Since Evesham Road falls under the County of Camden's jurisdiction, would it be possible for representatives from Gloucester Township and Runnymede to combine their efforts with establishing contact with the Camden County Freeholder Liaison for Roads and or the Director of the county's Public Works to determine a resolution to this matter in the interest of avoiding any potential accidents? I thank each of you for your time.
Thank you very much. Steve, is that something your traffic unit can address?
It is, yes, sir. We have an investigation going on now, it's in progress, paint and signs for that one. We are aware enough from,
Yeah, well, I was talking with one of the parents at St. Teresa's, and they actually went to Runnymede's Town Council too. So something might be in the works there too, I don't know. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Mr. Heimel.
Pete Heimbaugh, Morningstar Court. I just have a few more questions regarding affordable housing. And it's just for a level of understanding. I'm not debating anything or anything like that. When we hear fair share and affordable and COA, even Mount Laurel, are those pretty much talking about the same issue? Are they sort of interchangeable?
Yeah, it all stems from the Mount Laurel decision.
Yeah.
That's 73, Ken?
around that time.
Yeah, okay.
And how do things like the metro cities and the CDBG, do they dovetail into this in some ways? Like, do they?
It can. Community development block grants, that's issued through HUD, and they're for projects that are earmarked for low and moderate income communities or sections within a community. When I used to work in Camden for the redevelopment agency, we oversaw the CDBG grant process for community groups to apply for funds there. And as the years have gone on, those funds had less and less of those funds. Part of the CDBG grant that we have here in the township, we do counseling for housing. We're located in our old public works building. There is funds available for individuals that are low or 0% interest funds for people to rehab their home, microloans that are offered. There's opportunities through the Housing Authority. Also, money that's earmarked for, I think, Blackwood West for the redevelopment agency. It comes through CDBG money. At one time, we had an administrator, Joan Eller, that would help us secure grants through the township to pay part of her salary. So those are some of the things that CDBG allows for.
Okay, and do those end up developing some affordable housing that can count against this quota which we try to reach? I mean, does all that kind of work together to add up to this housing quota, affordable housing quota we try to reach? Is that part?
Probably not. Mr. Lechner?
They're part of that. Part of the calculation is a rehabilitation component, percentage of the rehab. So CDBG funds are used, as Council President said, the main component is to do rehabilitation to your home. So we get credit. A well, sanitary, septic system, things of that nature. So I'm not exactly sure what the percentage number is. We use those funds, and it's not an individual unit. It's as Council President said, it's rehab. So there is a rehab component for our overall obligation.
Okay. And for instance, this housing development ordinance that was talked about today, does the township negotiate with the developer for affordable housing units, or do they come to you with a number, or how? This is all just out of curiosity. It's a complicated area.
There's a formula, but can use a term. Was it an intervener? What was the term you used?
They intervene.
So this particular developer objected, was interested in putting apartments up, then objected to the possible plan, and Mr. Lechner, you could take it from there.
Basically, it's 15%. So 15% of the units, or 11 of the units of the overall property. It's not 72 low and mod units. It's 11 of the units.
And that's mandated? That this 15% is?
It's part of the site.
Oh, it's part of the, yeah, I see, okay. So for example, another example, the senior housing that the Housing Authority administers, does some of that?
That counts towards it. We see when Senior Campus 2 or Senior Campus 3 comes on board, that will meet that obligation as well. I think that's already included, isn't it? The plan.
75 units that exist are
Part of it now.
accounted for, and Senior Campus 2 and 3 are part of it.
And also, this property rehab program that the Housing Authority is also administering will end up with affordable housing units from that program as well. Is it?
And that could help in that, meeting that number as well.
And I'm not, I mean, it sounds good to me, and so I'm not trying to start an argument or anything, but I thought we asked that question back when this program was adopted and voted on. The question was asked, is any of this rehab going to roll into the affordable housing? I thought the answer was no, but I mean, it's a good use of this program anyway, so I just, I'm not here to debate that or.
It's in our plan.
Okay.
One of the things, Pete, I spent 9 years on the planning board, so I was, and Mr. Hohen's spent about 4 or 5 years on the planning board. Mr. Hutchinson's on it now, and this is something that it is. I said a moving target earlier, Mr. Polidoro. The numbers change all the time, and there used to be where a developer came in and a certain percentage had to be allocated for affordable housing. There was a time when developers would just throw money at it and say, okay, we're just going to put money in a pot to use for affordable housing. Some of the more affluent neighborhoods did that, and that's what led to the Mount Laurel decision, where you have to meet a certain percentage of affordable, or have a certain percentage of affordable housing in your community.
Okay. So there's a lot of moving parts to this, and it's coming from direction from community development planning and from the Housing Authority. Who in the township kind of pulls all this together to make sure we're...
Mr. Lechner.
Is that right? That's fun. Okay. Thank you. That's all
Is
then.
that a question?
No, that's...
Okay. That's all then. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Carr. Sir, you'll be after Ms. Carr.
Joanne Carr, Timber Birch. I haven't been here for a while, so it's good to see all of you again.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. This coming Saturday is the fire elections. I have not yet received a ballot. and there's a budget involved there, and I don't know how much they're asking us to vote on. Pardon me?
I read a 0 increase.
For your, now the 6 fire districts, you can choose, okay, clarify that, please.
Right, but we're in the same fire district.
Yes.
District 4 was 1.9.
Okay, I was just wondering, I'm like, they probably got things out, like you read it somewhere. Where did you?
I read it, but I didn't read it.
Right. So I'm like, possibly could we advertise it more, maybe even put it with the Public Works thing that comes out once a week? That I know we learn a lot of things that have happened on that. Maybe we can learn some things that are going to happen and give us a chance to prepare for it. Because I think a lot of people, it's going to float right by them. They're not even going to know to go out and vote.
Okay, that's a suggestion.
Well, it's just a suggestion. I'm like, somehow or other, the fire companies are not putting the word out. Maybe the township could, because it's coming out of our pockets one way or another. And I know they're all different, but maybe there could be a little link on the Public Works little
GT Works?
GT Works. Right, okay. That's one. The second one, this is how long it's been since I've been here. I know in the patch it said that some people had prepaid their taxes to save monies because of the new budgets and everything. And at the end of that, it said that there were quite a few people that did it, but at the end of it, it said that many people do this frequently. You usually get, and I forget the numbers. I'm wondering, with prepaid taxes, where does that money go? I mean, does it go into like an escrow account or just into a general?
I'm going to start, and I'm going to let Mr. Curtis finish it. But with the prepaid, you're paying for just the first and the second quarter.
Okay,
Because there's an estimate that takes place for the third and fourth.
right.
Ms. Curtis?
It goes into a reserve, meaning that it cannot be used for anything. It doesn't go towards surplus. It doesn't go into the general fund. It's reserved until those taxes are due.
Is it gaining interest being,
All the accounts gain.
okay. So the interest for this money goes to general fund?
I would have to speak with the tax.
Or to counteract some of the accounts that aren't being paid?
I'd have to check with the CFO and tax to see how that is.
Okay.
All accounts are interest bearing. Interest right now, it's,
It's not there, but it's going up, maybe. So, and I know, the third thing, I know I missed Ro DeJosie retiring and having our new town clerk. But I just wanted to let you know that a town clerk for Gloucester Township passed away, and I went to her viewing this morning. And that was Ruth Beadle Cumming. She was township clerk from 1968 to 1971. And I thought you might want to know it, and it was at Earl Funeral Parlor today. So,
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name's John Stackhouse. I live in the Lance Terrace section. This township, anybody knows where that is. It's not area, but I live on Hickstown Road. You do live in Marshall Court, right? No, wasn't you? Your brother or something? Somebody back here, your name, live back here. Well, I'm asking about the easement on everybody's property. They're putting new telephone poles in. It's a county road, I understand that. But they're coming over too far on my property. They have trucks parked in my driveway to put these new cones in to fill with cement so they can put the metal poles on. They're going on everybody's property. Past the easement, it's 25 feet from the center of the road. Is that, am I right?
Mr. Canwell, do you?
Right, more than 25 feet, then why should I pay taxes on that? That's, I am. That's the surveyor's.
County right of ways are 33 feet from the center. I don't know about Hickstown, might be 50. I know a lot of them are 33.
Yeah, so it makes sense, and they got the sidewalk in.
I love sidewalks.
We had no choice in putting it in. It was put in by the whole engineer in this township, put in wrong because it goes up and down. all this concrete's going like this, and they drive the trucks on it, so it makes it worse. Huh? Oh, yes, it is, and they send somebody out from the police department, and we had to fix them all and pay for it. He wouldn't even talk to us. But the main reason I'm here is about the telephone pole, about the easements. How far can they come on in place? The other people who were supposed to be here, they never showed up. The whole road don't like what they're doing.
I don't believe they can come onto your property.
But they're on my property. They drive the trucks on it all the time. They drove through my lawn a couple times. That was okay. But they're not, it's not Lazy Electric, it's a contractor for them. They're going to run that all the way to Grenlock, the substation across from Grenlock Terrace School. But
You want to check with the contractors that are there.
they won't talk to you. They don't know nothing. They know nothing at all.
All these, Atlantic Electric, ESCG.
We went through that. Went through the county.
Well,
We did that all day. It doesn't do any
all
good.
would say they have to stay within the easement area. If they want to go outside the easement area, which would be on your property, they
Yeah.
have to have what they call a temporary working easement from you
Yeah.
to park on your property or store items on your property. Then they have to restore your property to its original.
Yeah, they haven't done that. Even the gas company moved the gas line across the street so they could put the poles on this one. No more money for expense. Didn't even fill that in. They didn't put many more. They put the dirt back, full dirt back. I mean, Lazy Electric will not talk to you. They trim trees there, or vines. It's on the telephone pole. They left it in my sidewalk, right in the middle of the road. Says, we're not going to do that. So I had lung disease. I had to go back there with oxygen to take it back in my woods.
Mr. Stackhouse, can you come up here and provide your phone number for us, and we can give you a call back?
You remember from school?
That's right. I knew the name sounded familiar. Thank you.
Mr. Campbell, I'm going to ask for your help on this.
We have a picture you have to address.
We have. Thank you, John, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good night, Mr. Stackhouse.
Thank you, have a good evening. Anyone else? Mr. Sweet.
Sam Sweet from Muriel. Good evening, council.
Good evening.
Just a couple quick things. Last council meeting, I had brought up the shop at, the different townships, and you'd said if I found the information to, I forget if you said present it to Mr. Cardis or present it to council.
Mr. Carter.
Okay, so would I just call your office and schedule an appointment? Okay, and then we'll go from there?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing is, I see that we're appointing another person to the zoning board.
Yes.
Just
She's
kind
been appointed.
Okay, he's been appointed.
She.
She, okay. Again, how do we go about these appointments again? This is just,
This individual expressed an interest. She has attended meetings here over the last 2 years and had contacted the mayor's office and said that she would like to serve in some type of capacity. And there was an opportunity on the zoning board as an alternate 4. So we received her resume, and tonight we voted on her appointment, and she will now be serving on the zoning board.
okay, so again, I don't know who she is, I don't have any problem with that. I guess my question is, do you put out there that we're looking for alternates on the zoning board to the public, or is it just the public has to come to you?
No, we don't, there are times when there's.
Like, I don't count,
There's times when there's opportunities that are available, but most times people make an inquiry. I made an inquiry in 2002 that I'd like to get involved in my community, and I got appointed to the Human Relations Committee.
all right, so the public would have to come to you to get involved, for the most part. Obviously, council is,
They express an interest and interest in their community, and they participate in things, absolutely.
so there's no public, like, I guess, record of it, like, you know how, if you have to sell real estate, you have to put it in the paper that you're selling real estate, you're not
No, we're obligated to do that.
obligated to do that or anything like that? Okay, that's it, that's all, I just wanted to know the process.
Okay.
That's it, that's all I got tonight.
Thank you, have a great evening. With that, we'll close our second public portion. Polling the directors.
Gloucester,
I have nothing to report.
Chief Earl,
Nothing to report, thank you.
Carl,
Nothing to report.
Curtis,
Nothing to report.
Mr. Ashton,
Thank you for letting us see.
Leon,
I'd like to thank all the aerial students, and thank you all for the great conversation and dialogue tonight. Be careful. Thank you.
Owens,
I'd like to extend my congrats to the aerial school fifth grades kids reach out as well, and thanks for coming out tonight.
yes, Mrs. Swash.
Lynn, thank the fifth graders. It's so nice to see the young people in the community doing things like that for others to be in our town. And thank you.
Sweattick,
The same also, congratulations to the Kids Reach Out group, and thank you all for your comments tonight.
Rivera,
Thank you for coming out this evening. Congratulations to the fifth grade service club at Earl Elementary School. Don't forget, we do have fire elections in our township. They're always the third Saturday of February. And I want to congratulate Ms. Kelly on being appointed to the zoning board. Thank you for expressing an interest in working with our township and our community. 2 weeks from now, we're celebrating Black History Month. I encourage all of you to come here at 7:30 to attend the event. With that, I entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Have a great evening.